Hi, I'm Dawn and this is where Shabby meets Bling. Tonight I'm going to be taking two very unwanted items and turning them into decor suitable for winter and Christmas.
You are watching Flippin' Furniture Friday. I would like to thank my co-host Sana from OK at Home DIY. You're going to find the links to her channel and this playlist in my description box below. These chairs have been in my garage for well over 3.5 years now. They were a roadside find and they are nasty, they are disgusting. They were when I found them and they sure as heck haven't gotten any better in my garage. I even put them back on the road in front of my house hoping someone would take them. No one would. No one would. Go figure. So I decided now is the time. We are flipping furniture on Fridays, so these little guys are gonna get flipped. I have a plan for these chairs and I don't know if it'll work or not. I want to add lath to the back and to the seat to make it look like it's a sled, like an old school sled. Not, it's not gonna be identical to a sled. It's a chair. It kind of can't be. It's wood, it's not metal. But I'm going to add some pieces to it so that the lath will lay flat. As you can see, there's a big bow to the back and that will never work. So my plan is to cut this off right there, to cut that off, and that way our lath will lay nice and flat. And I will also add another piece at the top where it's cut off right there. So we'll see if my plan works. Wish me luck. Here she is, and voila! She lost her back. This was done on the chop saw. Pretty easy too. Now I need to cut the back off the other one. Both of the backs have been cut off, and the 3 pieces of wood that will support our lath slats are just sitting there right now. I'm about to wood glue them and nail them into place. You can see that this piece also had to be replaced. It was missing. Totally missing. Now I need to give this little chair and its partner a sanding. Most of the finish is already off, but I am just going to make sure that our paint adheres. I'm going to just hit it with sandpaper and then we are going to paint. And I'm going to do something to these I don't normally do. I'm going to spray paint these. I don't normally spray paint furniture or wood in general, but these are going to be the exception to my rule. The existing chair and the new components added are going to be sprayed red. We are going to make this look like an actual sled as best we can. I am using up all my red that I have. There's like 4 different colors of red, but they're partial cans and they've been sitting around. And now is the time to use them up. They make a great primer. So I'm hitting my both chairs with mismatched paint, all in reds, to get my first coat on. Once dry, I will come back with Majestic Red, also a Rust-Oleum spray paint. High gloss. I wanted semi-gloss, but high gloss was all I could find. They really are looking pretty darn good. If you remember what they looked like to begin with, it was pretty sad. And now they're getting that beautiful majestic red. And then we're gonna move on to our lath. Now I need to prep my lath by removing any remaining nails. I will use the claw part of my hammer and pliers to do so. The tops of sleds all have very specific shapes. They have different types of curves and none of them really are the same, but I need to draw a template so I will know how I am going to cut my lath. And first I'm just going to draw a straight line up either side to emulate the sides of my chair, aka the lath, which will become the sled. Then at the top I will draw an arch. This will give me a basic template on how long my lath will need to be cut. I cut my template out, then I head out to the chop saw. I cut one piece to see if it is going to be the right size, and it is. So then I will continue with that as my new guide. Using that piece, I stack it on top of a full-length piece of lath, making sure it's straight and tight up against the fence. Then I just use my chop saw and give it a little cut. I'm able to get 2 pieces of the back of the chair out of 1 piece of lath. If you don't have reclaimed lath, you can buy brand new lath at any hardware store or lumber yard. Now that I have all of my lath cut, I am going to sand it down. We don't want any slivers in anyone's bottoms. That would not make for a happy holiday, would it? So we need to sand. I am using a very gritty sandpaper. I think it's a 60. 120 at the max, because all of these slivers need to go. I am taking this down as far as possible. What you're seeing there that I'm sanding is the cut marks from when it was milled way back 100 and some years ago. This stuff's old and it is extremely hard, and I just need to get some of this grossness off of it. The plaster, and believe it or not, a little bit of horsehair. I love power tools, and this palm sander is one of my favorites. Now, if you don't feel comfortable using something like this on your own, have somebody supervise you at first. There are different settings. You can go full blast if you want, or you can go really slow. Now, to get used to it, you might want to go really slow, because the faster it goes, the harder it is to hang on to. I suggest you wear gloves at first, because if this palm sander gets away from you, it can lead to an injury. Always be cautious and careful when using power tools, but I highly recommend you get yourself some. They're fun. Now I am going to whitewash all of my lath. I am just using an antique white interior latex house paint and some water to get rid of some of the redness that's in my lath. I believe it is red oak and white oak. I think both are combined, and I need them to look the same. I need all the pieces to look similar. They don't need to look identical, but they do need to look similar, and that kind of reddish orangey color is really going to contrast in a bad way with my beautiful red paint that we painted those chairs. My lath is dry, and you can see this is just one of the chairs, and I have matched up the width of each of the pieces for the back and the seat so they line up. Some of the lath is not as wide as other pieces, and if they don't line up, this isn't going to look right, especially since the plan now at this point is to create some stripes for our sled. I will be taking the third piece over from either side on the seat and on the back, and I will be creating a red stripe. The whole thing will get painted red. Then on the outside, the second one over, I will be creating a very thin black stripe. These are the second pieces over from the outside of the chair, both on the seat and on the back. And I am going to create that stripe I just told you about. I am using blue painter's tape, and I'm just eyeballing a very, very thin stripe. What you see left of the lath is going to get spray painted black. Once I get my first piece of tape laid down and burnished, I will line up my second piece of lath so that my stripes will be the same width, because if it doesn't continue from the top to the bottom, it'll look funny, and I don't want that. Once I get all of my pieces taped, I am going to seal that edge of that blue painter's tape with Mod Podge. Since I'm spray painting this, I feel that Mod Podge is my best bet to stop any possible bleeding. Once my Mod Podge is dry, I will take it outside and I will give all these pieces a good spraying of that black spray paint, Rust-Oleum, and it is a satin My paint is dry, and now I get to peel off the tape. This is the fun part. This is always the fun part. To see if you had any bleeding or if you get a nice crisp line. And look at that beauty. Nice line. Yay, I hope the rest of them came out this good. If we really want this thing to look like a sled, we need to recreate this upper part of a sled. So I'm taking a piece of scrap and I've already cut it in half. And this was just something in the garage and it will suffice beautifully. It also gets painted red because it is going to resemble metal. Anything painted red at this point is supposed to look like a metal. Now we need to work on this part, the little part that makes the sled steer. I am cutting 2 pieces of lath identical for each chair to create my steering piece. They will be stacked one on top of the other, and then I will create a template. Just like the top of the sled, the steering piece is shaped in many different ways. If you look at photos online, or if you have any old sleds, you'll see that that steering piece is shaped in many ways. So I am just going to draw out kind of what I think my steering piece is going to look like. I trace my 2 pieces of lath, and then I darken it in with my Sharpie so that way I can actually see the amount of space I have to work with when I make my drawing. After I'm done with my sketch, I fold it over upon itself and cut it out so it is symmetrical on both sides. This is the arch I finally ended up with. This is what the top of my sled, or should I say chair, looks like. I held this up. Once my lath was in place on the chair, I traced it and then I cut it out with a jigsaw. But since I'm done with this template, I'm going to use this cardboard to trace out a much stronger version of my steering mechanism template. So I just take a little bit of painter's tape and I tape it down, and then I will trace it, and then I will cut this out because this will get traced onto my lath. So I have my 2 pieces of lath. They are just sitting side by side because when I cut this out with the jigsaw, it'll make it much easier and I won't have to worry about it cracking or coming apart if I glue it ahead of time. So for right now, this is just taped on here, my little template, and I am tracing it out. The next step is to trace the other steering mechanism for the second chair. Then I head to the jigsaw and I will cut this little baby out. Here we are, and it is still 2 separate pieces. You can see how nice they turned out. I need to sand them a little bit, but first and foremost, I need to drill holes in the little rounded areas on either side because that is where our rope is gonna go. This is gonna really resemble a stylized sled as best I can. And what good is a sled if you can't pull it around by some rope? So I am starting with a smaller drill bit first because I don't want to crack this. This is old. It's strong and it's thick, but once it starts to crack, it really cracks. So I'm just going to gradually go up a size and then another size till I get a hole big enough that it will accommodate my rope. And now to whitewash my steering pieces so that they blend with all the other wood pieces on our little sled. And we also need a piece of metal to hold our little steering piece. I'm going to use this gorgeous, so fabulous metal ribbon that I got on clearance at Hobby Lobby. I kind of collect this stuff. Anytime I see metal ribbon that's decorative, I grab it, and this I got for a song. I'm going to cut this down to create a little strap that will give the illusion that it's holding our steering mechanism in place. I will paint these red as well. This is the rope I will be attaching to our steering mechanism so it looks like it's really a real working sled.
My project is complete And now let's go take a look.
We really need to revisit these chairs before we take a look at how they turned out. These were so disgusting and no one wanted them, not even me. But with a little bit of love and a lot of work, this is what they look like now. Do you remember the stripes we created? There they are, all the way down to the front of the chair, so that on the edge they still continue. And if you follow the line, they run all the way back up to the back of our sled chair. So let's take a look at our steering mechanism to see how we did. I think it turned out pretty darn close to what a real sled would be. You can see the metal that holds it into place and the ropes that are tied on, so you can actually steer when you sled. You can steer when you sit. And here is its pair, decorated also with some beautiful winter greenery and a black and white striped bow. And these are outside. Keep in mind, I found these outside, and then I put them back outside for a long time in the rain and whatnot. So that's why the spray paint. That's why the spray paint and the lath, because lath is almost indestructible. So these could sit on a porch. And you could recreate these with any chair, any old chair. Looking at them, you would never know or even think that they had such less than humble beginnings. But here they are, ready for winter and Christmas entertaining. Thanks again to Zaina for joining me in this Flippin' Furniture Friday. You're going to find the link to her channel as well as the link to this playlist in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, share it with your family and friends, and anyone that likes thrifting, repurposing, furniture flips, DIYs, Christmas or interior decor. You can follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to check out my shop on Etsy. Leave me a comment. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Ring the bell for notifications of all my upcoming videos. Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. It's a great way to support my channel. But for now, this is Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.